Welcome back to episode 5.
Yeah, hey everybody, we're back here. It's episode 5. I was not on episode 4, so sorry for missing out on that. It had just been the longest week, and I was so tired, and I honestly had nothing to say, and I just ditched John, but he did a good job, so as far as I know.
Yeah, because you listened to it halfway through. That's all. Yeah.
I listened to half, and then I fell asleep, and then I went, I'm sure he did good, and I never went back.
I killed it, I think. But I'm biased.
By yourself, yeah. It's hard by yourself, because who are you talking to? So.
Yeah, I don't really know. I was kind of nervous before I started, and then I just started talking and didn't stop talking for an hour.
That's good.
A bit, an hour, 15 minutes. I was just in a room with the kids. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys
are going to hear the airplane. So we are currently in Nandi. We were in Suva all last week. And right now we're in Nandi just to take a couple days break. This is the last thing that we'll be posting. Probably just for a few days here. We're going to take a social media break because we're
Nandi is where the international airport is. For those of you who don't know much about Fiji. So we are actually right on the runway of the airport. So that was a big jet just taking off.
Yeah, we rented an apartment, and it's a nice apartment. It's just
super nice, yeah.
But it's just by the airport, so
if we could take this apartment and just pick it up and relocate it to the village, that'd be sick.
Yeah, it would be. Well, dreams, right? One day maybe.
Yeah, one day.
Anyway, so last week was a little bit hectic. I think some of you might have joined us. I think it's been a week now since we had our friends let us know that their son was in the Levuka hospital, and the doctor had told them that he would most likely die that night.
Yep.
It was pretty scary for us. They had... So
I can't even look at your face right now.
I'm sorry. We're talking about the most serious thing, and John and I have these face masks on. I bought us these moisturizing beauty masks, face masks, because I was like, well, we've both been really stressed, and maybe the conversation will not be as serious if we have these on. And
oh my gosh.
Also,
my skin
my skin could use a little help, and so could yours.
I've never done this before.
Yeah, I
look like a complete idiot.
Yeah, I hope we can post a picture of this.
No, don't.
Later. Anyway.
Don't. Taking a picture right now.
We're going to take a photo for some fun. There we go. All right, I'll post that on the story with the podcast, so then you guys can see that.
No. If you want.
Anyway, so in Levuka Hospital, our friend, they were in the village in Levuka. We won't name the village. And their son got some sort of infection, and from what the doctors had told them, that he had what they said to us was blood boils. But it looked like that he had an infection, and in his skin there was dark spots popping up everywhere. The mom, of course, went into the hospital and had gotten antibiotics right away. And then all of a sudden, a few days later, he started vomiting blood, so they rushed him to emergency. They had consulted some nurses in Canada when it first happened. They definitely did their due diligence, but nobody could have known. And when they got to the hospital, the doctor said that he had a risk of bleeding out at any minute and could die. And that's kind of when we got informed by Jonathan's parents of what was happening. And then asked all of you to help out and go donate some blood, because to keep him alive for the night, we needed blood, just a transfusion for him. And it was stressful. We were contacting helicopters. We were contacting people with boats. We were trying to get a hold of the Navy. We were trying everything. And you guys were awesome, sending us phone numbers for all the contacts in Fiji. And you guys crushed it. You guys made all of this possible. And so many people went to the hospital. We got a message and a photo of taxi drivers picking up people for free and bringing them into the Levuka hospital to donate blood, which was so overboard and amazing. You could not ask for a better country to help.
Yeah.
John is wordless. I think both of us are kind of stunned at how amazing the response was to that. Anyway, the next morning he got over to Suva. There was some background complications to that. He got in by, I think, lunchtime.
Yeah.
And then he got into the hospital, And then they started treating for a lot of different things because what was happening was unknown. Nobody was really sure. What they found out that he had low platelets. So platelets, from what I understand, are what help it's a part of your cells, and it helps your blood clot. And the doctor said that his was so low that if he bled at all, internally or externally, he could die at any second. So it was just, we were on edge, pins and needles the whole time.
His name is Kai, by the way, for those of you
His
who
name
aren't
is
following
Kai.
none of this, because it's not like it's a private thing anymore.
His name is Malachi.
His name is Malachi. We
Yeah.
just call him Kai. And
Yeah.
so
Very healthy 8-year-old boy before all of this started, so it was a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, the parents were just kind of like, trying their best to figure out what's going on because it was so last minute. And, he was just in the hospital and all of a sudden he's like puking blood, right? And so they're just trying to figure out, like they're just processing like that their son is like on death's doorstep basically. And so, yeah, we get a call and then we just tried to do what we can. And yeah, like Stephanie said, it's basically because of your guys' support that, we put out a bunch of Facebook lives and just like asking people to, give us information. How can we help this kid? How can we help Kai get him some blood? And there was just overwhelming support for blood. And like Stephanie said, and then got him to the mainland and got him to Suva. It's probably one of the best places in Fiji where he could be. And he was looked after so well. I mean, like right. the thing about Fiji is like we have really, really talented medical professionals here and great support staff. I think it's just that, be based on, I think I've said this in different posts, over the last week. It's just, I think that because we're so isolated in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, the only thing that would hinder, or the thing that hinders us is just like our supplies and our resources because of the location and because of the size of the country. I guess we're a developing nation as well, right?
Definitely.
And so like, man, everybody tried their hardest, and I think everybody just deserves a huge thumbs up. Like everybody. Like I don't know, like there wasn't, to my knowledge, anybody who was like negligent or like,
no,
could have, was like clearly not doing their job or anything like that,
And I think like I keep saying to everybody, there has obviously been frustration. I think everybody in Fiji's experienced the system in Fiji is a little bit broken, in the sense of communication and efficiency, but it's not the people. It's a system that has some flaws in it. And we've seen that the people work hard and the people are doing good, but the system is complicated and the paperwork's long. And so that just makes it a little bit troublesome when you get into emergency situations where we have to act quickly and solutions have to, actually come through quickly. So, we did have some hiccups along the way, but we all pushed through together.
I think, like hiccups is for sure. I totally agree. Like there was hiccups, major hiccups along the way, but there's also like, don't get us wrong. Like if you're in Canada, or if you're in the States, there's also major hiccups, everywhere. Like, so it's not to say that any serious medical emergency is not without its hiccups, right? Because I mean, it's like, that's just what it is. I mean, in the beginning it is that. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just a huge props to everybody, all of you guys, everybody listening to this, all the medical professionals, everybody who donated blood, who bought a t-shirt, all that stuff. I mean, so long and short of it is, I mean, we're kind of just like getting caught up in this, but long and short of it is that just today.
Actually, just wait. I just want to let everybody know. I explained the platelets being low. What they decided in Fiji was that he got a severe infection. His body had an autoimmune reaction and started attacking his own body, and he lost platelets so far that he could bleed out at any second. We did not come to a final diagnosis within Fiji because we lack the equipment to go any further within that realm of diagnosis, okay? The doctors did their due diligence and they went through all the things, and they were consulting with a specialist in Canada, and they said that they took the correct course of action to diagnose him properly and eliminate things. The Fijian doctors had told us, We lack the resources to take it to another level. You guys need to get him out of the country to get better care. We took so long to get Kai out of the country because realistically, there wasn't enough money just to get him on a jet and get him out when he was not in the condition to fly in a commercial airplane. The physicians here, the doctors here, they got Kai to a stable enough place where we could fly Jonathan's mom in, who is a registered nurse, to get medical supplies from the hospital to take him out on a commercial flight. He did fly first class so they could lay him down and, make sure he's comfortable and get all the way to Canada because it is a long flight, right? But he did get home.
Super long. Yeah, he did. Yeah, they just got home. So this is, what are we on today? Is it Saturday today?
Today is Saturday, 13th? January the 14th.
14th.
And it is 8:24 p.m. right now.
Okay. So, yeah, so they just got home like an hour and a half ago or something like that. So we were praying for them all the way home. And, yeah, it's just crazy that they actually made it home now. Not crazy that they made it home, but it's just like surreal because we've been in the weeds for the last like 10 days. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
10 days, more than 10 days. And it's just, don't get us wrong. Like, what we went through is nothing compared to like what his parents were going through and whatever. And so like I've said, and me and Stephanie were talking about it tonight. It's like, people are, like friends of theirs and you guys are saying like, thanks so much. You guys did such an, amazing thing. And it's like, man, for us, it was like, to me, the way that I looked at it, was like, it was a blessing to be able to be there for them in a situation like this where they're isolated in Fiji from their friends, back in Canada, and to be able to be like the hands and feet for the people, like all the people that would have wanted or would have been there, bringing them food or running, them around and like doing all the things that we were doing. They would have done that if they were in Canada.
Definitely.
So we were just the people who were here for the time and in this moment.
And like God's timing is so good. Like we were on the main island in Fiji.
Which we aren't usually.
Yeah, normally we're not here. And so I was like, wow, that is just like actually miraculous. And obviously if we were not on this island, we would have flown over to help, within as soon as we could. But it just made it so much easier that we were here and able to do things and just stay here. And we had enough stuff and our whole family. And we're just very thankful that we could help out and honestly grateful that it all worked out so far. He is still needing diagnosis with a specialist. They still need to see what's happening. I believe that they're going to do a lot of different tests on him. Because he's by no means is he healthy or recovered, but
because we're on Saturday today, and just a couple days ago, I don't know what it was, Wednesday or Thursday, but yeah, he had his platelets dropped again. And it wasn't something that we announced publicly. We kind of kept it low key and brought in there's already some people that messaged, from before that said that they could donate blood. So, we had asked a couple of those people to come in.
And then we had a bunch of people we're not going to name that we had a contact for, and they organized it for us and were so amazing.
You guys know who you are.
Yeah, you know who you are. Yeah. So we're very, very thankful for that. And that was really cool. And also alongside of that, along this journey, I was in the PICU, that's the Children's Emergency Room. What
does it stand for? Perinatal Intensive Care Unit?
I don't know. I just keep
Prenatal?
I just keep saying the acronym, so let's not worry about it. But anyway, I was in there.
But I'm a details person.
I wasn't supposed to be in lots of parts of the hospital, to be honest, but I'm quite pushy when I'm like, my friend needs my help and I'm going to be here, and there's insurance and paperwork and airplanes and nightmares to work through, just paperwork wise, and she needs to make some life-threatening decisions, and I want to be her support. So, I did overstep boundaries quite a bit, but I'm glad I did because I got to meet some other mothers in the PICU that had children that were close to death.
Yeah, don't do what Stephanie does if you guys are going in there.
No.
Like there's systems and processes for a reason, and we're not saying that, everything that we do is the right thing to do and you must do it. It was just like we're all reacting.
It was just a abnormal case, and most people in Fiji don't have to deal with the mass amount of paperwork and logistics that we were dealing with. And I had permission. I did ask. I didn't just barge in and say, like, sorry, guys, I'm just doing what I want. I came in and I said, sorry, can I be here just
Yeah,
for
well,
10
I guess the
minutes?
security guard would have grabbed you by the collar and
Thank you. So,
taken you out.
I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
trying,
yeah,
I wasn't
fair
trying
enough.
to be like a horror. I was just trying to go in and help. I did ask permission. I didn't want to be yelled at. I didn't want to cause a huge thing. But anyway, I am thankful that I got to be in those rooms. I met 5 other parents that were in need of help. Something that we really noticed is that in the PICU, most mothers were in there, and partners or fathers or one family member to be supportive was not always allowed in there. Sometimes they were. So I'm not really sure what the stipulations were, but something that we noticed was that there was a couple mothers with small babies, and they were absolutely drained and exhausted. And I just thought, man, that's got to be tough, going through this alone. So that's why the family had asked us, we'd raise some support for them, and they had some support overseas. So they asked us to put together some, care package bags for the families.
That were in the PIC.
That were in the PICU.
So
there were
it is
6 beds.
it's the pediatric intensive care unit.
Oh,
I just
there you
found
go.
out.
So we put some.
So Kyle was in one bed. There's 6 beds total.
And when
And
he got
so-
removed, then we went back and brought 6 bags just
Yeah.
to take care of the mothers in there. The response for that was amazing from them. And I got to teach a few women how to use a breast pump. I'm not going to.
How did you do that?
No, we're not. We're not talking about that on air. I went into mass detail. I heard that a few of them were scared to use the electric pumps, and
I don't think it's anything to be like weirded out by though. It's like it's a fact of life.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
you show them how to breastfeed, how to use a breast pump.
Yeah.
And I think they need to be shown that.
They need
right?
to be shown that.
Yeah.
And I think because there was fear around using the electric one, I brought them in a hand pump. I've used it when I was having my kids. It was so helpful. And it was a really cool experience being able to do that for somebody. And the sad part was, though, for me, was that one of the mothers, not of those 2 women, but another mother, some lady had said, wow, this woman came in and was caring for me and doing all these things. And it's a European lady. And then her mother had said, wow, I can't believe a European lady would do that because that's not normal for them. Like, they don't normally
I didn't hear about this.
care, for us that well. And that's amazing that she is doing that. And I was so, horrified. Like, obviously, I was happy that they were happy, but I was so horrified.
I didn't hear about this. That's a weird comment.
Well,
It's not a weird comment. I guess it's an honest comment.
I think it's an honest comment because it wasn't to me, it was to her. And I was like, yeah, I think because a lot of people from overseas are here living a vacation life. You know, they're not here to do charity work, and neither am I. I just happen to be in the hospital and see, women that are in pain with babies. And I have my own children. So I'm like, that hurts me because if it was my baby, I would be devastated. So I can feel the pain in that. I think that was hard to hear, though, hearing that the view of a European woman is that we are very selfish and not willing to help. And that's obviously not true. Every culture has good people and every culture has bad people. And I think it's just unfortunate that here, Western people have moved here, lots of them, and haven't done enough for the country, I guess. And obviously I've met a lot of people.
Well, I don't think it's that. I think it's they've observed something abnormal and simply made a statement about their unique situation.
It possibly.
I think
maybe
they're seeing a white lady showing people how to use a breast pump and helping people.
I will say that's
hospital.
abnormal for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it's hard to say that
No,
I think it's not a general statement.
No, and I know,
think,
and
yeah.
I didn't take offense to it in the sense that, about myself, I just was like, I wonder if we could all just do better. That's what I was thinking.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I'm sad that that's her perspective because I know lots of lovely women here, European women that want to help, and I felt sad that that was her viewpoint on it.
Right.
And I just was thinking, how do we change that? How do we do better with that?
Okay.
That's
Half time. I'm taking off the mask.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Feel better? Look at your skin. You're glowing, luminous,
goodness.
beautiful.
Oh, so I just took off the face mask that we started the episode with.
Yeah.
That means you guys have reached the 20-minute mark. Congratulations.
Yes.
And
Anyway.
okay, the weirdest part about these instructions, sorry to interrupt this, is like...
About the face mask.
It says, when the nutritional content of the mask is fully absorbed, the mask is removed from the face. And the rest of the contents are absorbed by tapping lightly.
I am taking my.
Like, what do you mean tapping lightly?
Tapping, like you know how like it's like super like wet, like the mask.
Okay. I just picture like my finger just like tapping my face like this. Okay.
You can tell John's never really.
Is that actually what you're supposed to do?
I think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so soggy.
I've never really done any
So,
of this.
anyways, Stephanie.
I made John do it. He participated like a champ.
Yeah.
I just thought it would put
My
us
face
in
is
a
kind of burning.
funny mood. And
Also the flavor. What is it? A flavor? Or is it just what do you call this? The type of mask this is called snail.
John's a snail. Mine was cucumber. I gave
It
him the
literally has
snail
pictures
one.
of snails on the front. A snail cellulose mask.
Yeah. Interesting. And Aliki came
that's
out
weird.
when we put them on. And he came out from his room and he was like, what are you guys
What are you guys doing?
doing? We're like, oh,
So scared.
you weren't supposed to see us.
He was scared. Then he was because we look like
Ghost robbers.
we look like ghost robbers exactly.
There you go. Yeah, we looked a little interesting. Anyway, we're gonna move on.
So you were in the hospital, and we gave out those. What do you want to call them? Gift bags, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, they're not gifts. They were necessities for moms who have
Definitely.
young kids, and I think those are the times that I think those are the best times giving things away. Like giving is the best.
Yeah, and if I had more money, I would do it all the time. Like, I always think like, oh, okay, John and I always say like, we're not rich people. But I always say like, oh, one day when I'm like rich, because I have big goals in life, I'm going to make some money over here. One day when I'm rich, like I can't wait. Like I'm going to spend it on this thing. And it's not like things that are, I don't know, like it's not like a purse or something. Like I want to build organizations for youth. I want to, I don't know, give away things. I want to support the hospital because that's fun. Like it was fun having people raise money and I could go spend it on people and bless them. That was awesome. Like I know that sounds selfish,
and a
but
lot
like,
of you who are listening gave money.
I felt like amazing being able to give this to these ladies and like just seeing tears in their eyes and like thankfulness. Like not that I want them to cry, but I was like, wow, like the appreciation for such a small thing is so big. And I was like, wow, it's so cool that we get to be your guys' hands and feet to do that, because normally we can't afford just to go around and like buy medical supplies and supplies for families like that. I wish we did. Maybe,
and the
like,
way that it
one
worked
day.
was like a lot of you sent money to support Kai, and we were able to do that thanks to your guys' generosity. And then some of that money, the parents told us they wanted to use to give back to some of the parents in the PICU who didn't have the same kind of support that they had. And so that's why.
Yeah, it was just it was a cool experience. Anyway, I think we can wrap up about talking about
so
Kai and the
he's gone.
family.
He's back in Canada. They just got there an hour and a half ago. And
prayer is awesome, so we'd love to encourage you guys to keep praying for that family.
Yeah.
We will eventually get a video or a picture and something out from them.
Yeah, hopefully a video.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We've really tried to keep them in the background because it's already been a lot of stress. To be a public face is a lot of stress, and have a recording and even keep it together trying to say something is hard. And you've seen me cry quite a bit in the last week. Do you know what's weird? I did really, really well, like with the family. I barely ever cried. I was like, I will be a pillar of strength. And then the moment I'd pull up my phone and I felt like I was alone, but I had to speak about the situation. And like, I felt like I was alone.
Like just as you were going live?
Yeah, I felt like I was alone. And I know in the back of my head, lots of people will watch it. But like I felt more vulnerable because I'm alone and I'm allowed to cry all of a sudden.
It's
and
weird because
I
you're
would
like,
cry. And
you
I
see
was
the counter on the live. It's like 100, 200, 400, 500, 600. And yet you still feel alone.
I still felt alone.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but cry because I was like talking about something that was so hard. And then I hate crying in public. And I've had to tell myself like, it's okay to cry in public. But it didn't feel like I was crying in front of you guys. So, you got to experience the ugly cry face firsthand.
Yes.
So bad. Like,
Well, whatever.
yeah, it's okay.
Whatever.
Yeah, well, it's life. It's reality.
I think
it's
one of the
hard.
funnest things was like I messaged a guy from the New Zealand All Blacks sevens team. I think it was a couple days ago. Just because Kai is like his like biggest fan, and it's like in all of like the rugby players, like he's one of Kai's favorite, Malakai's favorite players. And so I messaged him and didn't hear anything. I was like, hey man, if you could just send a video for this kid, he's just sick, and I'm sure that it would encourage him. And then just last night he sent a video, and then I was able to send it to Kai. And then I don't think I even told you this stuff, but like Alita texted me.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, and she was like,
that's the mom.
Yeah, that's the mom.
That's Kai's mom.
Yeah, and she was like, in quotation marks, she's like, he knows my name. Like that's what Kai was saying. It's like, oh my gosh, he knows my name.
Oh.
And so like,
I watched that video and then I cried again because I was like, I want this guy on my team. The video was so cute and the message was so like deep and awesome. And I was like, I love this guy.
Yeah.
I don't know who you are. I'm not a rugby person, so I know nothing. And I was like, I'm your new biggest fan.
I should just play it here. Why not?
Okay.
Right? I mean,
well,
why not?
I guess so. So good. Be his fan. He's a great.
So guys, as you know, and I've stated publicly, I'm not really
John
an
is
All
not,
Blacks
no,
fan.
he's not. He's Fiji all the way.
We'll see if you guys can hear this one here.
Hey Kai, Moses here from the All Black Sevens, and I just want to thank you for all your support. Thank you for having my back on the field and cheering for me. So just know I'm cheering for you and keeping you on my prayers, and I pray that you get better soon and continue to improve and fighting your fight. Love and blessings to you all, and get better soon, my man. Bless.
Yeah,
so good.
It's so good. He's like, because I was like wondering, I got the message from him, and I was like, he was like, oh, just like send just like a video. I'm like, yeah, sure, like just whatever, not trying to like put too much pressure on him. And then he's like, thanks for having my back, on the field, and because you have my back, like I also got your back. Oh. And I'm like,
that's so sweet. I love you. New fan over here.
Oh yeah, so I'm like, just a closet All Blacks fan now, I guess.
It's really funny. Actually, okay, so before we completely end talking about this, I wanted to say there was a lot of people to thank. Okay, there was lots of heads of government. There was lots of people coming to give blood. There was lots of people everywhere. So we cannot say thank you enough to you. I'm going to say we want to err on the side of caution and not say names because I don't know what they feel about privacy. I do feel like there's one guy that we can mention that would never ask to be like a hero or an unsung hero in this, but there's a gentleman that was on standby with a boat from in the Levuka side. He owns a resort, and I just want to give
I think he owns. I haven't really verified that.
Yeah,
yet.
we don't know if he owns or if he's the director of a resort or operator.
Whatever you are, you're a hero.
You're a hero. Can we name the resort?
Huh?
Can we name the resort?
I don't know. I don't know if you should even say his name.
Okay. Anyway, the gentleman that was in Levuka, that
if he's listening to this, you know who you are.
We cannot say thank you enough. And if you one day tell us, hey, you can say my name, then we totally will future podcast because I want to. But yeah, we should err on the side of caution just to not be.
Yeah, like, okay, so all of a sudden he just gets like a million messages like, hey, come and get my kid who's sick in the hospital.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
like my grandma or my auntie or uncle or whatever. So like that's just why I don't. But I mean, you know who you are, and yeah.
And he didn't know us.
He didn't know us, but like having him saying, messaging, or I called him and I said, hey man, like somebody gave me your name and number, said that you're at this resort. Like, this is the situation, and then he just said, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to try to get everything together. And then he texted me and he's like, hey, boat's fueled up, crew is ready to go, and we're on standby. Let us know if you need, like, either for us to transport blood from the mainland back to Levuka or get the patient and take him to the mainland. And so it was just like...
And then the next day he ended up transporting the father and the daughter of that family across to the main island. And Yeah, he was just so generous with his time and resources, and we cannot say thank you enough. So
Yeah, that was crazy. It was, it's just times in life where you, like, you don't, or even if you don't need somebody's support, but just somebody saying, like, and I think I was talking about this in the last podcast, like, with suicide and people going through, like, mental illness and stuff like that, depression, and just having somebody who just says, like, hey, I'm here for you if you need to talk. It was kind of the equivalent of, like, what he did for us that night. Just being like, because actually that night when it looked like Malachi was not going to make it through the night, we didn't end up using his services.
No.
And, like, the boat and the crew, and, like, we were like, oh yeah, we're going to, and then things changed and they had donors come in and we didn't end up needing to transport blood from the mainland. And so just having somebody who is like, hey, we're here, we're ready, when you need us, give me a call, right? It was kind of like the equivalent of that. It's like having somebody, like, even though you didn't need them, knowing that they were there and willing to pick up the phone and take action when you needed it.
And honestly, we had lots of that.
And we had tons of that. And so, like, I don't even know if we can ever say the names or when. I just hope you guys know who you are, and we'll probably just call you guys individually, and go from there. But we're going on about this because this was just the last literally the last 10 days of our life, and, like, the last podcast that I recorded was in a room sharing a room with the boys in an Airbnb because Stephanie was out looking after some stuff for the family. So this has literally been the last week and a half of our lives. So we're gonna try to move on from this, but.
And in the background of things, like, it's been really interesting. Life doesn't stop just because there is a medical emergency, and we did put our lives on hold as much as we could. We missed our best friends in Fiji. They got married. Yeah. Oh, that was hard to miss that, but not that we didn't. I wanted to miss it because I knew, well, we all know that, this child's life's more important than someone's wedding day, which is hard to say. But it was also heartbreaking on the side to miss this important day for our friends because we wanted to be there to support them. And so it was like, oh, it's such a weird, like, thing to go, okay, well, this trumps this. That was hard. And we were supposed to, oh my goodness, we were supposed to bake the cake for their wedding. We were giving them a cow and then supplying the rest of the cows for the wedding. And we had told them we would do the videography for the wedding. And so we had to arrange, we have an awesome baker.
We were basically the biggest letdown ever.
We were. So we won on one side. We helped so much, I feel like, on one side. And then on the other obligation, we completely failed our other friends. We have a great baker for our Fresh Tea and Coffee in Sanganga. She does our sticky buns. And so I asked her if she could.
And guess who this episode is brought to you by?
Fresh Tea and Coffee in Sanganga.
In Sanganga.
Coming from Savusavu or Labasa, stop at Sanganga. We've got sticky buns and lattes and drinks. And one day we're going to have some food. So we're working on that in the background.
And if you walk into our shop and order, like, how long do you think it'll take? I'd say less than 5 minutes.
If it's one person, less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, like 2 minutes to get your order.
2 minutes for a latte and like 2 minutes for a sticky bun. So altogether, when they're doing it, a couple minutes and you're out the door.
Like, it's not like you're coming in and you got to stop for a long time. So we're right like at the town in Sanganga that's, like, right on the road, right on the highway, and we want to be convenient for you guys.
Turn in by the police station and keep going. You'll see Fresh Tea and Coffee
signs. Fresh Tea and Coffee. So our baker for Fresh Tea and Coffee was supposed to make the cake.
So she did make the cake. It was a gluten-free cake. My friend had given us the flour, so I was a little worried about that. And honestly, I am not the baker of, like, the best baker. I know how to make an okay cake because John's mom has a good recipe, never a gluten-free one. So she did a test round. She said it tasted good, and then made the cake. And our friend said it was good. She said it was great. I wasn't there to taste it, and I'm hoping it was amazing.
Yeah, like, we trust the baker. Like, well, she's a way better baker than you, for sure.
Way
definitely better than you.
And
better
all
than
the
me?
cakes, all the normal
that's
cakes.
That's arguable.
Okay, all the cakes she's ever made, top notch. So I trust her. That's why I handed it off to her, because I was like, honestly, safer in her hands than mine anyway. That's how I felt. I just wasn't there to taste it and go, yeah, that's great. And then the cows, we just chipped over some money and said, I know they had another backup plan for cows. So I think they executed on that. But we missed out on the videography, so that really sucked. So
well, it just really sucked, period, just to miss out on it. Like, I wouldn't change it for the world.
It's their big
and
day.
It feels like super harsh to say it. Like, it's weird. I don't know. Have you guys ever been in a position where, like, you're between, like, a rock and a hard place almost, is how I describe it.
Yeah.
And, like, I wouldn't change it for the world. And that feels harsh to say because I feel like...
Well, Kai is alive. A life was saved.
Yeah, and, like, they know, our friends know that, like, we would do this exact same thing for them. Like, if they have kids, like, we'll be there for them if this same situation was to, like, happen again. And there was, like, another friend who had a wedding. So it's just like, you know, how did you decide?
How did I decide?
Yeah, how did you decide? Like because it was a decision that we had to make.
Yeah, well,
like,
I just went, if this was my child and my friends that were here supporting me ditched me, I would be devastated. And also, I would never look at those people again. I don't care how much they helped me prior. If they left me in the moment of crisis and my child's life was on the line, I would never be able to look at them the same again, ever.
Right.
I don't care how much they helped me. If they left me in the middle of that, in a country that I am not from, and the husband's from here, but like from a country where me as a mother am not familiar with, and there's lots of complications, and this is not just like, hey, he's got a cold, like he needs to get out of the country so he doesn't die. I'd be friends off. I'd be disowning you.
Yeah.
I would be.
So how'd you weigh that against? And you guys should know, like, all of our friends will probably listen to this, so this is like a very open
yeah, we haven't said this to them
conversation, and so like,
Ooh.
you know, I think that's just what this podcast is.
How did I justify that?
Yeah,
we were at their they got technically married before at the JP. Is it J? No,
I think it's at the birth, deaths, and marriages
center.
Office.
Anyway, we went to like their actual like certified wedding and got to celebrate with them beforehand. And then I was like, I was so excited about this wedding because it's like a traditional Fijian wedding, but I know people there. I'm friends with people. There was some other people from overseas coming. And I just went, oh yeah, this is like the one really traditional wedding where I'll actually kind of fit in. Like, I've been to quite a few of them, but I'm always a little out of place, a little awkward. Everybody doesn't speak English, you know, most of the day, so I'm a little lonely. And I thought, I know people that are going that speak English that I can hang out with.
This is like the one that you would have wanted to go to.
This is like the one that I was like, I'm actually excited about this wedding. Right. Like, yes, I will be like a good part of it. I will have so much fun. John and I will be doing like pictures and photography, which also I enjoy. I was just kind of like, can't wait. So, but I knew like, okay, we celebrated with them once. And this life is important to me, and I care about this young man. Right. And his young boy. His life matters more than a moment to celebrate with them. And so I obviously like life trumps joy.
Okay.
That's kind of how I looked at it. And went, you know what, we're going to have to celebrate with them after because they'll still be here to celebrate with after, where he may not.
Right.
So that's kind of how, I think that's pretty logical for everybody, but it was hard though. Like,
yeah, I mean, the reason I'm talking about it is honestly because it was hard. And I think because other people might be faced with hard decisions. And like,
if his parents are listening to this, please don't feel any guilt. We wanted to be with you and only you. And we're there 100% and so happy to be there, and do not feel bad about us missing the wedding. Our friends love to put guilt on themselves, and our personal choices are not their guilt. And of course, we were not going to share that with them in the moment. Like, hey, by the way, I'm missing my best friend's wedding in Fiji, and it's your fault. Like, that's not true. So
no, it was a decision.
It's a decision that we wanted to make. And
yeah, like I said, I wouldn't change it for the world. But I mean, it's just, it's good. I think it's good for us. And like what I want to use this podcast as is like to debrief things like this. And because like honestly, guys, like sometimes we won't have conversations like this because when do you sit down, no phones, with your partner? And I'm actually asking you this really seriously if you're listening to this.
Wait, when do you do this?
When do you sit down and have an hour and a half conversation with your partner? No phones, just looking at each other in the eye awkwardly across the table, like we're doing right now.
With face masks or not face masks.
Yeah. Oh, my face feels delightful, actually. No, I'm not going to lie. But
You're welcome.
yeah, it feels good. But like, yeah, then just have these conversations. So I do want to use this podcast, and like, I don't just want to just like review what we've been doing and just like be surface, but like some of these questions are like, I don't know what the answer to that question should be. And so like, I think that's a real answer. Like that's actually a decision that we had to make in the last week. And that's what Stephanie had to go through to process it.
Well, you as well. Like, I love how you just talk about me, but this was our decision. You had to process it.
I was asking you the question though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just checking. And I think like John and I, you know, in the last 3 years, we've gone through a lot in our relationship, our marriage. Like when we left Canada, we were in a really good spot in our marital relationship. I felt like we were leaving Canada in a strong point, which I recommend to anyone else that wants to move overseas. And we kind of knew that our marriage was either going to go through turmoil or it was going to get stronger depending on how we reacted to things. And I would say both of us did our best to be very gracious with each other in our stress, in our heartache, in our just newness of moving to a new country. And we really just like bonded through that and just became resilient as a team. And I think in the last, like we've been married, coming this July, we'll be married 12 years. I think over the last, especially 10 years, we've learned to be a team. We've learned to communicate. We've learned to talk. We've learned to fight a little less dirty. Not me as much. I still fight a little dirty, but trying to be better. Don't smile at me. It's true.
No comment.
Yeah, no comment. But I, let's be real. Well, you have your moments, sweetheart.
Whoa. Okay. All right. Okay. Gloves off.
Yeah.
You guys want to know? No, just kidding.
Wow. Okay. Don't go dirty secrets here. But I think, yeah, we've really become a team. And even in this last week, if I look at our relationship, and just how we dove into trying to save Kai and trying to get them out of the country and trying to do it together, I think we did really well. Like we were in a lot of stress. We did not yell at each other. We had a lot of moments where we got a little bit snappy and then we stopped and went, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. I agree with you. I am on your team. We are actually not fighting. We are on the same page. And we're starting to be snappy because we're under stress. So let's stop that and move on.
I don't remember that, but yeah. I don't remember, like, I just, it's all a blur. I do remember, I just, like, now thinking back on it, I'm like, yeah, we did get along. Yeah. I don't remember the snapping moments, but I think there was one or two.
End.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's understandable, but yeah. And
I would say our relationship, like, that shows under huge amounts of pressure and stress that our communication has evolved to another level that we can actually just say, hey, right now, we're not actually mad. We're just stressed. So this is why this is happening. Let's remove that.
Yeah. And I think like, I think one thing that we do well, and I was reflecting on this week because Stephanie did take the lead from me for a few days. She went ahead of me to the capital to be with the family and to be there in person.
And we made that decision because I had felt like out of the two parents, the father has family here, and the mom, Alita, doesn't have anyone that she's related to or close to. And between us, we have a lot in common, actually. We don't know each other that well at the end of the day. Like me and the mom, like we kind of both married Fijians and they know each other and are bonded. And we're just kind of like the random white women that are in the White Wives Club and bonded over that. And I like her, obviously. Like we're friends.
Yeah. White Wives Club. Throwback to episode 3.
Yeah. We've got a lot in common. And I just went, yeah, like I need to be here for her because she probably needs more support. And I know that she will probably deal with all the paperwork because in their marriage, that's who handles it. I think when you have two people dealing with life, one person's going to be better at paperwork and the other one's probably better at dealing with other things. Yeah. And so I knew she's going to do the paperwork and I'm like, okay, I need to be there for helping. And John is a great father. He's really good with our kids. Yes. He can cook. So he's fine to take care of them, and they have lots of fun with Dad. So
Yeah, we had as much fun as we could. Well,
crab hunting,
we went crab hunting,
climbing sand dunes,
Oh, yeah.
swimming in the ocean,
fishing,
fish and chips.
fish and chips. Yeah, no, we made the most of it because I knew that I was going to be joining you within a couple days, and so yeah, I didn't take the lead because our job while we were on this, the reason we were on this island was to look after a friend's house while he was gone overseas for a couple of weeks to visit family for Christmas. So that's why Stephanie took the lead and I just held down the fort until he arrived back home. And then we all joined together as a family. But where I was going with that was that, like, I think the reason that me and you work well in those situations is because, and I've seen other people who don't do things well, is because, like, I think a lot of our decisions are business like, even in our relationship, like even outside of business, our marriage is business like in that
Well, that sounds so like cold and like not loving. Like our marriage is business.
yeah, well, I think that because from the perspective, and this is where I finish my point, is that we share goals.
Yeah.
And so
true.
that we're able to, I guess we were in, like, you know, like the first love, the butterflies and everything is romantic. But as life has gone on, things have worked between us because we share, number one, our relationship with Jesus. Yeah. And then number two, we share goals. And not that we always share goals, but we talk about things. And before we make moves in life as a family or as a couple, we only do it if our goals align.
Yeah, and we strategize.
And so the reason that we're in Fiji is because we have goals. The reason that we were able to make it to this week is because our goal was get Kai better. And like we put romance aside. We were not romantic at all this week. It was actually like we weren't like hugging and kissing or anything like that.
That's not true. I think you've given me more hugs this week than ever because I was crying in private more than normal.
Right.
And you did so good with that because John is not a touchy-feely person. Like
So this is coming from a guy. I'm like, we're not romantic as in like we didn't have sex. Like, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Or you're like, no, you were very romantic. That's so funny, actually.
Yeah, because
it's so funny.
I love my husband, and he is a great husband, but he is not a very good dealer of emotions. Like, if I'm sad, he's kind of like, can you please stop being sad and stop crying? And it's been a lot of years for me saying, hey, John, when people cry, you need to hug them. And then this week, John just did it. I didn't have to ask him, and I was like, oh, I love you. That's how I felt.
Wow. Okay.
I love you more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, we're able to, I guess, like in my mind, I was like, okay, the mission this week is not to like work on our relationship or like be the best parents even. Like we actually, you know, like our kids had a great week, obviously, because we were like, watch movies, eat junk food, swim in the pool, like distract yourselves. Like we're watching you from like a distance, but we're not like entertaining you ourselves. And so they had like the best week of their lives. But in turn, like our goal was not like, they didn't learn anything like educationally really this week. And like but our goal was to save Kai. And so when we have like those shared goals and in our relationships, like in our relationship, like me and you, whenever the reason it works is because like we share goals, I think. And because like I know people who are in Fiji who are not from Fiji who don't share goals, and it's very, very difficult for them. Yeah. Because like one person has a goal that's not like the same as her partner's, and there's always like conflict there.
Yeah. Well, and I think like from day one, we may have said this, John and I, when I had our first son, I asked him to quit his job and come run the business in Canada with me. And we said, we have a year to work together. If we hate each other, by the end of the year, we go back to normal jobs. If not, we'll see what happens. But I think we've split up. We've looked at like ourselves.
We split up?
No, we
never split up, guys.
Okay. Sorry. I'll rephrase that. We split up the jobs that we were trying to tackle. And we looked at the strength of what are your strengths and what are my strengths. And then we said, okay, you handle that part of the business. I'll handle this part. I think we now can we can kind of handle all the different parts equally well. I will say John is much better at administrative stuff than I am. Like, you do it in detail. I can get it done, but it's not going to be executed as well as you can do it. I can handle it. I just despise and don't want to do all the little things. So we all know that already.
And I think that's probably been, I mean, we're going off topic now, but that's probably been the hard part about being in Fiji, is that like I've had to spend a lot of time just doing legwork and not being able to finesse things as much. Like, like, you know, like I'm not answering emails as fast as I'd like to, and, you know, get back to people as, you know, on a timeline, and do some of like the finer like bookkeeping stuff and be on top. I'm just like logging emails into like folders and not like looking at them until like the end of the month, you know?
Ooh, and that builds up some anxiety and
stress. Yeah, my personality. Yeah, for sure.
Like, that's hard not to finish all the things that you want to.
Definitely. And I think so, like, yeah, you'd be the dreamer. Yeah. I'd be the schemer. Right?
All right, we'll go.
The dreamer and the schemer.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Something that was interesting while we were dealing with all this crazy logistics of getting Kai out was we had a company that we had approached probably, I don't know how many months ago, with the turmeric. Maybe 6 months ago.
Oh, at least. Yeah.
About that, we had a lot of turmeric on our island, on our farm. We brought them a sample, and we hadn't heard back from them. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, while we were dealing with all this, they had said, "Oh, hey, we'd love a shipment of turmeric." So John, in the background, while he was at home with the kids, when we had a little bit of breathing time, he was dealing with the logistics of that on our island, trying to get some people to pull turmeric, wash it, dry it. These people are coming to pick it up. It's hard when we were not there to make sure it's all going well. I think you have a challenge with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say, because there's like, everything in Fiji is can be very frustrating at times. And so it's hard, even in person. It's even harder trying to coordinate something like this that has not even many moving parts, just a few moving parts, like at a distance. And do you want me to go into detail on this? Because I can freestyle on this. I mean, there's learning things.
Yeah, let's just do it, because number one, let's start with, John's going to go into detail about it, but if the people that were involved in it are listening, we are happy with the job. It's done. We got to learn from this and move forward with it. And we've all got things that we got to learn. It's not your fault. It's our fault. We were not there for the first time making sure things went well. And you guys did your best and you got it done. And we're proud of you. So. Yeah.
So, that's a good disclaimer. Is that like always, like I always say, is that I think one of the key traits of a leader is ownership. And so I think it's good that you say that, because now I've just been kind of like, oh, so frustrating because of everybody else. But it's like, I think that the reason that it didn't go as smoothly was because I was not there in person. So my expectations were high. Well, my expectations were just my expectations as normal. Like, deliver a quality product and give a quality experience, the highest of the highest, right? But how could my expectations have been that high in this situation without being there? So I think I had unrealistic expectations. This company calls me back after like 6 months of like radio silence. I was like, oh, I took them a sample. They were super impressed. They loved it. And then didn't hear anything back from them. And I was like, okay, well, that's just probably that. And, some more dummy tax paid, basically, which is, you guys will hear us say dummy tax a lot on this podcast.
Because we pay a lot of dummy tax.
We pay a lot of dummy tax. And basically, it's just spending money on things and making mistakes. And so you spend a lot of money making mistakes. And so hopefully you guys can listen to this and not make the same mistakes. And so, and so they could call me back, I think just before Christmas. And they're like, hey, look, we need like a bunch, like a lot. We're like, I'm talking like multiple tons worth per week. And we need it like now. And I'm like, okay, well, that's going to be really hard, but let me make some calls and I'll see what I can do. So I make some calls, and I, talk to a couple people who can coordinate the whole thing for me. And then we get it. I get back to the company and I say, look, this is the price that you guys told me like 6 months ago. And so here's the deal, is that like the price is the same. And like this might not have been the best business practice, but because the price in this situation could be way higher. So by my saying like, hey, the price is the same as when you told me 6 months ago, I probably lost money on that. But I just wanted to just secure the deal because I was not there. So I said, hey, price stays the same, but in this case, you come and pick it up from us, which is a big deal because we're on another island.
That's way better.
Yeah. So I was trying to just like make sure like, hey, it seems like they really want the product and we have it. So price is the same, but we don't look after transportation. You come and pick it up. It was really last minute. I tried to get somebody to organize it all. And then we were supposed to get about 1 ton, which is 30 bags. And in the end, we only got about 8 bags. And it wasn't quite as clean as, so 8 bags would be less than half of, way less than half of what they
Number
wanted.
one, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, so it was a bit embarrassing. And it wasn't as clean as what the company wanted, like the final product. And it wasn't as big or as mature. Like the product wasn't as like hardy.
Yeah.
Like as in size as the company wanted. So actually that's one of the reasons that I'm here in the West in Fiji right now, is to have a meeting with that company and kind of like mend whatever, show them how serious I am about wanting to make this work, because they need a serious supply. And so I'm serious about giving them that.
And we can do it. We just got to
We
be
can do
there
it.
to
Yeah.
like organize and train. We can find the right people.
Yeah.
And even the people we had, we just got to work with them to be like, this is what we need.
And so following up with this whole thing, I'm trying to give details, but I'm trying to be vague. It's just
I think you should give details. Something
it's a
that
weird
happened.
Story. So what happened was that, so I asked, I followed up with the guy who was doing my foreman work, a relative of mine, and who was managing the crew. And I was like, why was, so they said that it wasn't very clean and it was really small. And I said, so the first question that I have is like, why were we only able to get 8 bags?
Yeah.
Instead of like the 30 that we were aiming for? Because like it seemed like everything ran last minute. Like instead of like, because the company I wanted it washed and dried, not like dried so they could pound it, but just so it wasn't like soaking wet.
Yeah.
Which I mean like a morning in the sun kind of a thing,
It
right?
would have been fine.
Yeah. And so I was like, this process started on Thursday or on Friday, which means they had Friday, Saturday, Monday, and they're going to pick it up on Tuesday morning. So I called them on Tuesday morning, and they're like, oh, we're just bringing it down from the mountain. And I'm like, that's super last minute, because they're going to pick it up in like 2 hours. So like, did you guys wash it up there? Well, they hadn't washed it up there. And then I was like, so why did it take so long? And so what he told me was that, oh, well, all the guys, everybody's forks, like their digging forks that you use for like digging things up, were out on their farms. And so we only had 1 fork. So there's about like 8 or 10 guys, from my understanding, with 1 fork. And so I don't even know what the lesson in this is for me, but what I told him, I'm like, okay, if this happens again, then just like let me know that there's only 1 fork, because I will send money so you can go buy 3 or 4 more forks. Because in this situation, so what we're talking about is, a contract or a situation where we could make like $5,000 to $7,000 a week if we were able to secure this. So for me to spend like $200 or $300 on forks to make sure that we secure a contract, because it ended up they only had 1 fork, and so they just ended up pulling everything, big and small sizes, and then they ran late, which means they weren't able to get it as clean, which means they weren't able to get it dried because they were running late. So we had not the size and not the type, and it wasn't as dry. And
Brutal.
the whole reason for that could have been solved by just me sending some money to buy some more forks,
Which we did not know about.
which you didn't know about. And so if anybody's listening to this and you're like, oh, because to me, I'm like, okay, so we have 4 days or 3 days of work lined up, and there's 8 people with 1 fork.
Let's
So
just
if we
miss a day of work.
Yeah, so let's just stop. Like, so 8 people with 1 fork, let's just send 7 people to their farms.
Yeah.
They go get their forks, even if it's a whole day, which is not. But even if you don't work for a day and they come back and then 8 people have forks for 2 days.
And we'll pay you to walk and get your forks.
Yeah, that's a lot better than 8 people with 1 fork for 2 days, for 3 days.
Yeah.
So it was just like, and I run into this a lot in Fiji, just like just problem solving and just like analysis of like of yeah, just problem solving and analysis.
So I think one thing that like we've learned opening Fresh Tea and Coffee is we need to ask lots of questions. And in this case, we needed to ask more questions. Do you guys have enough forks? Do you have all the material and supplies you need to actually get this job done properly and efficiently? What is your timeline? Do you have enough people? Like the more questions that we can ask as leaders will be helpful to help them make good decisions, who's ever leading the team on the ground. It'll also teach them, hopefully, to think a little bit more critically and go, we have one fork. How do I solve this problem?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think it starts with like seeing that there is a problem.
Yeah.
Like, so, and I'm just going to just step in here and say that like if people are listening to this and like the person who is managing this is listening to this, like it is not your fault. It is my fault.
It's John's fault.
It is my fault.
100% John's fault.
100% my fault for not being there and putting this on unplanned on your shoulders and not not being able to see it through to the end.
And not asking the right questions.
Yeah. So burning a bridge with this person who wants this exporter who wants this turmeric is on me, not on you.
Yeah.
This is me.
And we love you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And so, yeah, I think going forward, it would be, yeah. So, okay, that's what we were talking about was like how it's not even just like problem solving. It's like seeing problems. Mm-hmm. So how do you teach people to like see problems?
Well, we have like our cleaning business back in Canada. This is my analogy for it. Is like when we hire staff there, everybody says, yeah, like I have experience cleaning and also I've cleaned my house for my entire life. And you're like, I always think like, congratulations, haven't we all? You know, but it's different when you're cleaning someone else's house that's paying for it.
Right.
They demand a high level of quality and expertise. And so our job as the owner and as the manager is to teach them how to see dirt. And so part of that is that we are blind to dirt. In our own homes, we put like this veil over our filth because we don't want to think that we're filthy. We don't want to think that we have dirt in our house. So we ignore a lot of the dirt. When I teach people how to see dirt, part of it is looking at different angles, going up and down, trying to...
So you teach them how to see it.
I teach them.
Yeah, you know, you're right.
And so part of this is we have to teach people how to see the problems and then teach them how to think of solutions. And it's not that anywhere else in the world we have to do the same thing. So this is not just specific to
This is not a
Fiji
problem. No.
This is everywhere. If people in Canada don't know how to clean properly, almost anyone in the entire country, I will have to teach to do it properly. It's not because I'm a good cleaner, it's because I've taught myself how to see dirt. And so with this, I've taught myself how to see problems and solve them. So have you. Not that I can see all the problems or all the dirt in the world.
So like, yeah, so a good example of it, like my real life experience of like learning how to see a problem. So like, as you guys know, like I used to be a mechanic. And so actually this old Aussie guy that came and worked for this shop that I worked at in Canada. And he said to me, if something is very frustrating, like for a bolt, for instance, if like a bolt, you should put a socket or a wrench on it and unscrew it. Lefty loosey, righty tighty, right? If it's taking way longer than it should to do that thing, then that should be a trigger in your mind that like you need to look at a different solution. So like if you're like desperately trying to get this bolt out and it's like not coming out and you're just reefing on it, it's like, okay, maybe I need to get the torch out to heat it up because it's rusted in, or maybe I need to get a different type of socket or a different type of wrench. So there needs to be those triggers in people's minds to be like, oh, there is a problem here. And even if things aren't necessarily going wrong, it's like, this bolt is not coming out like just easy. How could this be done better? And so like in this situation, it's like, there's 8 people here and there's 1 fork to dig up turmeric for 3 days. How could we make, like there should be a trigger to be like, we need more forks.
Yeah.
How do we get more forks? But I didn't tell him. And so he probably felt nervous to call me and be like, hey, there's only 1 fork here.
For sure.
Because and like he probably thought like, well, like I might have gotten upset or something like that. But we didn't talk about it. So that's why I have to own it.
Well, and then also like
And also, I didn't supply the forks.
You didn't
It's
supply
my
the
job,
forks.
so maybe I should be the one who's supplying the forks for my job.
You just assumed everybody has one.
Yeah, wrong.
And
Shouldn't
so
have
I
done
think
that.
like within business and within your life and, especially I think living in Fiji because we're doing new things here. I think a lot of it is like John and I have had to learn to try and be proactive about a lot of the problems and then also paying a lot of dummy tax again and going, oh, that could be a problem. And so now, okay, this second round, we're not going to screw up on. We've already paid our dummy tax. We've already seen, wow, that's the problems. Now we're going to sit before this next one comes and go, what are all the things that could go wrong? What were the things that went wrong? How do we avoid those things? And let's communicate more. So when those things do come up, like a new problem, because there will be new problems, don't be surprised. How do we solve those things quickly, efficiently, and get the quality and, the great product out to our clients?
Yeah, and the silly thing to do for anybody in this situation would be to go ahead. It turns out that supplier is, even though like our product did not meet their specifications and their desires, they
have a high need for it.
They have a high need, so they're desperate, so they want more,
Yeah.
and they want it to be better.
Obviously,
they need it
we're
drier, they need
fortunate
it bigger.
to have a second chance.
Yeah,
And
very.
we're grateful for it.
And that's why we're here right now, so that we can meet with them, so that they know that we're serious.
And
so
to say we're better than that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So the silly thing for me to do would be to go into the second shipment and not address the things that we've just talked about, like right now.
Yeah.
And so like what I need to do is sit down with the guy who's managing the project and be like, look, like
We screwed up.
ownership's on me, but like, look, this is how we can do this better.
Totally.
And so before we go into this next one, do we have forks? Do we have enough people? What's the timeline? How many days do we need to get this product off the mountain to get it washed? Because it wasn't washed. So what do we need to do to get it cleaner?
Yeah.
And then how much time based on the last experience do we need to get it drier?
Yes.
And so, yeah, I mean, whatever your situation is, this is so specific to harvesting turmeric in Fiji, but yeah, reviewing what you've done and the past experience and doing it better and being able to do it better the next time is it can be done without reviewing what you just did.
Yeah. And I think like John and I are always open to new opportunities in Fiji. We're trying not to drown ourselves with too many new things.
Yeah.
But I think like we would love to see something successful on the farming side. And we've put a lot of things out there, just testing the waters and whatever comes back to us. We are going to keep going with it to give it a try because we've got great people that need employment around us, we've got great farmers in our area. They just don't have access to people that are buying. And so that's something that we're passionate about following up on.
Questionable about opening up about this, but I think it'd be helpful for everybody is like, do I keep all the money and just give like pennies to like the people who are doing all the hard work, like on this
No.
turmeric thing? So like the way is okay if I break it down?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess
So like the way it works is like, for me, like if you break it down from $1, like 50 cents is going to the people who are harvesting it.
Yeah.
25 cents goes to the person managing the harvesting group and dealing with the exporter, and 25 cents goes to me.
There you go.
Because I got to, so 50, 25, 25. And so because I have to deal with the headache of like making the contacts and spending my time going around, because this isn't the only exporter that I've taken products to and like tried to get a hookup with. This is like one in the many that I've tried to like
We've
get on board.
spent some money.
Yeah. And so when there's problems like this, like I'm the one who has to take the flag, and it's on my brand and on my name, right? So that's my 25 cents. And so it works out to be a bit more money than people would get. Actually, we'll talk like 30 or 40% more money per sack for turmeric than people get just taking a sack of turmeric to the market.
Yeah.
And in that case, they would only be able to take one sack. But in this case, we might be able to sell like 100 or 200 sacks for 30 or 40% more. And all they have to do is bring it down from the mountain, wash it, dry it, put it in a sack. They don't have to pay to take it to the market. And they're not just selling one sack in the market. They're going to sell like 100.
Yeah.
Right? So like, I don't think they need to like double or triple what they make. they can make a bit more, or like 1.5 times almost as much, and sell like 100 times as much.
And that's our hope. Like John and I think it's hard for people that are around us to see us trying to build businesses, and they're like, oh, you're trying to make money. And I wish they knew that we want to make money, but we also want people around us to make money.
So the background on all this is that, like, on this last shipment, I called the exporter. I said, look, you're not happy, because I know that you're not happy with the product, and I'm not pleased that it wasn't satisfactory. So instead of paying your price, pay half of it. Pay half of your price per kg and take it, and I'll pay the other half to the people that are owed money. So it's just like,
well, and
that's part of dummy tax, right?
That's part of dummy tax. And when you have the ownership of the failure of what happened, you get to pay the price. So that's also part of being the owner of something. When something's not going well, that's on you.
Yeah.
And you should be paying for it. Not the people that did the hard work, the physical work that you've hired to be a part of this with you, because it's your risk. As the owner of a business, as the owner or the person that's taking ownership of the operation that's happening, you get to pay the excess. But your people that you've employed or asked you to jump on board with it shouldn't have to pay for it. That's what being an owner is.
Yeah. And so I think, like, looking, into 2030, and our goal by 2030 to be the most innovative company in the South Pacific would probably mean that we're wealthy to some extent.
Yeah.
Personally speaking, or maybe just on paper. Maybe it's just because we own a bunch of companies that make money.
But also in Fiji, like other companies that we've like just even been like buying stuff from, they've said if the employee makes a mistake, it's on them.
Yeah.
So number one, we're innovative in Fiji because we're like, well, no, if you make a mistake, it's on us because we own that.
Yeah. But part of that innovation or part of that just, being the most innovative and just dominating is going to be like learning. And so people will like, I think in like at the year 2030, people will look at us and be like, oh, must be nice. Must be nice to own. And it's like, but you have no idea how many problems I've had to own.
Yeah.
And how much dummy tax I've paid out of my pocket.
Yeah.
So say on this last shipment, it's only 8 bags, and we're talking like not like, several $100. It's not, we're not talking millions of dollars. But like, that's a shipment that I should have made money on, and instead I'm going to pay that equivalent money out of my pocket.
Yeah.
And so like in hopes that we can do it again, and we might not, but it's just because I don't want to burn bridges, right?
Yeah, and we want to treat the people that have actually stepped up and done this for you without you there.
And so part of ownership is like you get to own a company and be whatever successful if you get to be that, but you also get to own the problems.
Yeah. So what I was saying is like being an owner is taking care of the problems, but then also being an owner on the other side is, let's say our business in Canada, we do not make as much money there as we could because we pay people as much as we possibly can afford so they don't leave us. And if they leave us, we can't complain because we have no more money to give them.
That's our policy.
So we
with
take
all our businesses.
Yeah, we take less. And then, but on the flip side, we don't do much with that business anymore. Our manager is self-sufficient. She's amazing. She does everything for us the day in, day out. I've got to answer a few emails here and there. Now that COVID's over, I'm not so involved, and I have barely even looked at an email in the last, 10 days, because I don't have to. And that's the benefit of being owner. And I'm making money without thinking about making money. But I've also had to struggle for 11, 12 years now with that company. And I've paid a lot of dummy tax on that one too. And so we're starting again fresh and grinding a new business out and taking out all the bumps and paying all the dummy tax is hard. And so
and people will just look at the end and be like, must be nice.
Must be nice.
Actually, we almost called this podcast Must Be Nice.
Yeah, that was, we were going to not call it like the Walker Family podcast. We were just going to call it Must Be Nice.
By the Walker Family.
Because we were like, must be nice. And
I think that was just, it must have been in a week when we just thought like a lot of people, or we heard from a lot of people like, must be nice.
Must be nice. We've had people say to us like, families that haven't got their lease yet and they see us and John's Fijian and we have a social media and all this stuff and they're like, oh, it's probably so easy for them. Like, must be nice to be them. And we're like, okay, it took us like 3 years and like pounding on people's doors to get approval for a lease, and a lot of drama in the background.
Must be nice.
Must be
How about you
nice.
move to the village and you live in a house with all of your relatives?
Must be nice.
Yeah. And pay for all the groceries and do all the things that are required as like being part of a chiefly family in the village. Must be nice.
Well,
Have you tried to go into all the friggin' like things that are required of you as being a Fijian and all the meetings? Must be nice. How about you move away from Canada and take your family and take your wife away from her family? Must be nice.
yeah.
Right?
I was telling John today, we were talking about crushes that we had when we were kids, and how meaningless they are now. And sometimes, like, when you look at that person as you've met them as an adult, or hear about their lives as an adult, and you go, ooh, I dodged that bullet, or or like, I don't know, maybe some of you have I missed that train, but we have a lot of like, oh, I've dodged that bullet. And it's funny because we were saying, like, I wonder what people think about us. And like, I was like, I'm vain, and I was like, I bet people are like, I missed that train because I'm awesome.
And I'm like,
awesome.
I feel like
So
people are
vain.
like, oh, dodge that bullet.
Well, John thinks that not because of anything else other than he's taken his wife away from her family to a country that it's very different and out of my comfort zone. And I was saying to John, I said, yeah, but a lot of people I think are like, look, and they want to see the good, positive, like, wow, so cool that you guys live in a tropical country and are doing all these amazing things. I'm like, I don't think people go like, oh, if I was you, I'd have to make the decision to leave my family or the hard things about it. I think they go, wow, must be nice to live in a tropical country. That's where I'm going with it.
Okay, yeah.
And I just kind of was laughing, like, yeah, I think people look at the like, they're like, they make like this fantasy story about your life, and they're like, must be nice to be you. And then you're like, yeah, but I wish you could just live like a month in my shoes, and then then
make an opinion.
And then make an opinion,
Yeah.
because we struggled just like you
because
guys.
it might be nice. It might be nice compared to somebody who's going through a really difficult situation.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it might be nice. But like, for us, like, it is nice, and like, we're not complaining. We're just saying, like, it's not always easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we're saying. We're saying, like, please don't just go, oh, wow, you guys live this like easy, beautiful life. Like, we struggle along with you guys, the things that you're dealing with. We know that like farmers in Fiji have had a hard time being innovative, getting companies on board with them, not having the budget to go to exporters and say, hey, can you look at us? Can you see if it'd be worthwhile? When they screw up on their first order, not getting a second chance.
Yeah.
Like, there is some must be nice. We're lucky. We're very fortunate with this shipment that they're desperate. But, we've had the finances because we've built a company from the ground up, that we have some excess income coming in, that we can spend money to go and say, hey, you as an exporter, would you look at us?
Yeah.
So, obviously that business was successful. We're privileged to have that business. But we work hard for it.
Yeah.
So you have to find your money somewhere. Maybe it's not in farming. Maybe you find it somewhere else that's not exciting, like cleaning people's toilets. That's not a glamorous job. I cleaned toilets for many, many years. Happy I did it. Happy I did it. We all have to start somewhere, and then you go out and you grind with what you have. And we run out of money all the time and stress about money all the time, because we have way more money going out than we have money coming in. Yeah. So
Fiji is net zero, way less than net zero for us.
it's crazy.
Yeah. We've spent way more money than we've earned here.
Yeah, it's way more. It's crazy. And it's hard, but I think we're willing to put in,
we're playing the long game.
Yeah, we're playing the long game, and we're willing to put in the time and the grind. And I think hopefully this will come across maybe as vain, but John and I have a heck of a lot of resilience. You can slap us in the face 20 times and we are still going.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of us for being like, you know what? It's still okay. We're still fine. We've still got this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think real winners in life, in marriage, in business, with family, like, are people who played the long game, and people who are willing to lose for a long time and then they win.
Yeah.
And I think it's people who don't look at losing as losing.
And
Like,
even
I look at losing as learning.
Yeah, and even if we weren't successful in Fiji and we had to move back home, I still would not view that as a complete loss because we
No.
have learned so much here. So it's all perspective and how you look at life. If we had moved back to Canada and started a new business there or even work at Costco for a year, I would be heartbroken, but I would still go, that wasn't a full loss. Our
Yeah.
children had a beautiful life. We had an amazing time,
Mm-hmm.
and it was hard, and we've learned a lot.
Well, it's like all the camping and everything that we used to do in Canada. It's like basically now we have like 3 years of camping under our belt.
Yeah.
But not like camping on the weekends. Like
Yeah.
camping every day.
Every day.
Like this is nice because we're in like a really nice apartment right now, but like
And it's got air conditioning. Well, not in the main room. I will say I'm sweating right now.
Yeah.
In the bedrooms, it has air conditioning. The one in the main room doesn't want to work.
yeah, we'll get
That's
it figured
okay,
out.
though.
But yeah, for those of you who think like must be nice or like whatever.
And sometimes it is nice, but it's not easy all the
Yeah,
time.
but like, you know what must be nice is having connections in Fiji to people who have land. That must be nice. And you got to do something about it. If you're listening to this.
Yes.
If you're a person who has access to land and access to an opportunity to come back to Fiji and do something with that land, that must be nice. If you're listening to this podcast and you're listening to us talk about this and you know what we're trying to do in Fiji and you know who we are, that must be nice.
Well-
Because we're trying to like give these stories to you as inspiration.
And lessons, I guess, because
Yeah.
ultimately, hopefully, what we sucked at, what we failed at, you can go, ugh,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Learn from us. Like, message us. Ask us to spend your money for you and invest it properly, or tell us, like, ask us how to, like, tell you how to do it.
And you can even wait for us to actually make some decent coin here and then give us a call and say, hey, I'm overseas. I have some money. Let's do something. Because John,
Yeah, like, I've had people message me about the tractor and be like, hey, I got land in Savusavu and I want to develop it. How much would it cost? You know, like, could you get your tractor there? I'm like, yeah, for sure. For, like, I got to transport it, but, like, I could get it there. And, like, I trust my driver and he'd do a great job. But, like, and then it's just, like, radio silence.
yeah.
And it's like,
Okay.
so you know who I am. And you know that I'm honest. But, like, you are not willing to take the jump. So you look at me, you think must be nice or whatever. But, like, you got to take the jump. You got to be
Yeah.
willing to do something.
But you don't even have to move here.
No.
And also people...
We're here.
We're here.
We're here sometimes so that you don't have to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to be your hands and feet. John and I are passionate about life.
Yeah.
Like, give us a chance over here.
Yeah.
And I think people locally also, like, there's a lot of people that own land that do nothing with it. There's a lot of people that have opportunity. Fiji is the land of opportunity, of things to do.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to grind it out. You need to be willing to take ownership of the problems. You need to be able to solve the issues that come up. But there's lots of things. You can change what you're doing. If you don't like what you're doing, change it.
Here's a one. Here's a must be nice. And I'm going to tell you is I need to supply 5 to 7 tons of turmeric a week.
Ooh.
Or somebody wants 5 to 7 tons a week. Do you have family in the north? If you're listening to this and you're from the north and you come from a place that has dango, turmeric, whatever you want to call it, in your area growing wild or people planting it, let me know because I need a serious supply, like 5,000 to 7,000 kgs
And we don't
a
have
week.
it on the farm.
I don't have it on my land. I have a bit, but I can't make it up. So I've got a guy that I'm going home to this week or this next week who I'll be putting full time on just going around finding turmeric,
Yeah.
quality turmeric. So there, like I'm trying to just find opportunities, but I can't fulfill them all.
Yeah, maybe we can help you with that. And you will know better than we do. So we're just finding people trying to problem solve because we need lots of turmeric. So that's another problem. Great problem to have, but it's a problem.
Yeah, it is a great problem to have, but it's a problem. And we're going to solve it.
Anyway,
I'll get it.
This week we're going back to play our little card game, our conversation card game.
Yeah. We're Not Really Strangers is the name. And we're going level 2 today. Do you see this? Are you ready for level 2? We've done level 1 a couple times.
Okay.
But obviously I did not play this game. So can you explain this really quickly? What is We're Not Really Strangers?
It's just a conversation game. I think
This is the couples edition.
Couples edition. John and I decided to buy it just so we're not talking about work all the time, that we're connecting. We play it at night. Sometimes when we're just like, all we can do is talk about work or our children, let's play the game so we talk about other things and connect and actually have good communication between the two of us. So.
Yeah. So you ready for this?
Yep.
Okay, question. And so there's 3 levels, and we're doing level 2. Like level 1 is, I guess, the most surfacey, and it's still not surfacey, and level 3 is the deepest. So we're on level 2, which is midway, and it's called connection. And so the question is, how do I show that I love you without telling you?
Well, all right. I already have my answer. This week.
Oh my gosh.
What? This week, you gave me hugs when I needed it. And you asked me if I was okay, which I think it was kind of funny because I'm like, of course I'm okay. Like this, it's not my child possibly dying. Like I am fine.
Right.
Like that's how like mentally I'm like, of course I'm fine. But at the same time, it's like, well, like it's way less stress because I cannot imagine the amount of stress that was going through the family, the mom, the dad, like that is a mountain on top of you. But I felt loved by you because you cared about how I was doing, just caring for other people or dealing with other mothers in hospitals that have tragedy or telling, and I got told quite a few times this week, actually, that other moms lost their babies. That was hard. And I think like, gosh.
Like it's crazy because like you're not the mom and they're just random people, but like you are a mom.
Yeah.
And for you to imagine like losing your baby is like.
It's funny. Like I met a mom this week that, she somehow knew who John, well, not somehow, she knew who John was and said hello. And then John said, oh, you should meet her. She's really nice. It's cool. So I just ran out the house and introduced myself and said hi. And we were just saying like, yeah, it's funny as like now a mom, like really as like for friendships, all you need is like, hey, you have a child and I have a child. And like, wow, that's a deep, like something that we have in common and we can connect over that. Even if our personalities do not jive, like I deeply connect with you on just like a mother level. And I understand your struggle and your love for your kid. And like, I just felt that.
And so you're relating that back to like the emotion you're feeling right now?
Yeah, like well, it's moms? Like hard because you're like, I think when you hear that, you go, oh, like the depth of love that I have for my kids. If that was happening, like, holy smokes. Like, I can imagine how you feel. And at the same time that like the fact that you're not screaming right now.
Right.
And like just burying that emotion is intense. And I
you did go, there was a mom who was in the PICU with you guys who lost her child and you went and saw her, right?
After. Yeah. And it is astounding how she said that, she's not turning her, she's not hardening her heart towards God. She said she's just still going to pray and praise God through this. And I was just like, wow, like, that is such a testament to her faith in Jesus and that she fully trusts him. And it was hard because she said this was a third child that she has lost. And
I mean, God's got to be bad at that point, right?
Well, that's
Most
how you feel,
think,
right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, like that was so rough to have to listen to and be there for her. And honestly, I just wanted to run away because it was so hard even to just be there with her.
Because like you can't even did you feel like while
you can't fix it.
While you're around her, did you feel like I am so beyond blessed that like I can't even like relate to you or I feel bad being around you?
Yeah, and I felt bad being around her and I wanted to comfort her, but there is no comfort for that. And I wanted to fix it. There's no fix for it. And I just went, honestly, like if I could, I'd just run away. But I know that is like, that's just the truth of awfulness that I thought, because I went, this is so hard and I can't do anything. And then I went like, I was praying to God, like, give me some strength to be here for this woman because she needs it. And I suck and I can't fix anything and only God can. And what I'm going to say to her is going to be stupid. I think there's fear of like saying dumb things to someone in pain and you can't fix it. So you do your best and you go like, I didn't do very good, but hopefully it gave her some comfort. And like, she was so amazing. And it's interesting. Like sometimes I'm not sure in Fiji, like, from what I've seen in Fiji and experienced personally, the sharing of emotions, like there's like two interesting things. People have a hard time going into a deeper, meaningful relationship and talking about in-depth things here. And then after someone dies, to share the sorrow with people continuously, or just talk about it, to just get it out and like process it and be okay, is not really done very much. And also, you know, the day that you're allowed to weep and cry is the funeral. And traditionally, like Itoke Fijians, which is the Aboriginal Fijians, they have a house that they all go mourn and weep in together, which
where the body
is, which is great. It's actually a really healthy. I've been in there. It's hard. But it's a healthy thing to do, but it doesn't continue after that. Kind of after that, you get a day to weep and cry and mourn, and then you need to keep it together. It feels like I don't think there's any written rules.
It was so funny, like, not to take away from this conversation, but I was just at a funeral, and we went with our whole village.
Yeah.
And because the good ladies go and do the mourning in the house, and then like all the men went to have food, and the ladies came like a few minutes after, and like one of the guys, like when the ladies came, he's like, man, your guys crying was not long enough, like in Fijian.
Yeah.
He was like, oh man, you guys crying is too short.
Like, go back and cry again.
Go back and cry again. I was like, he was just like trying to pull their leg. Actually, it was like one of my cousins talking to an auntie who we always like bug, but it's funny.
Well, and I even told this lady that lost her baby, I said, like, I know it's weird, but you need to get it out. You need to find someone to talk to. You need to express how you feel to a friend or your husband, or call me. Don't let it bottle up. Don't push it down. You need to actually like talk about it and work through it and feel those emotions. It's healthy. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, remember your baby, remember your child. Like, they were not
nobody.
They
weren't
just nobody.
A thing.
Don't forget them.
Yeah.
You don't need to. And I just felt like that was the only thing of encouragement.
Like, why do you think it's good to like feel that pain or the sorrow?
I think like when you let sorrow just stay inside and push it down, like, it haunts you. It doesn't ever leave you. You can't give it up to God. You can't release that sorrow. I think like your body, even if you don't think it, I think when you shove that pain deep inside, I think your body, number one, physically reacts. And then I think like, even if you push it down deep enough, I think in the future, like let's say even like a couple years from now, it'll come back at you and even harder. And I think it's best to just work through it at the time and just talk about it. You don't have to talk about it with everybody, but I think it's healthy for you because we keep talking about this, but that's where suicide comes back into play, depression, anxiety, all these kind of things. And God doesn't want that for us. And I think healthy people are able to speak about their emotions, and it's good for us to actually connect with someone. And that's what relationships are for. Like, I love you. We have a friendship or spousal or whatever. I love you. Let's talk and actually talk about real things, not just the weather or surface. Like,
that's me, baby.
Oh, John's the number one. Like, I was like, he's
hey
level
guys, let's
2.
have some small talk.
John's like level 2 deep diver. If you meet him like for the first time, John's just like trying to go deep with you right away.
Come on.
He's not like, that's nice. How's the weather? He's like, how are you doing? Are you connecting with people? Like, he might not do that to you, but I see him do it often, and I always kind of make fun of him for it because I'm like, you know how to make someone uncomfortable or best friends right away. So congratulations.
Yeah, and we know this. I either scare people away and we never see them again.
Yeah.
Or we become friends with them in some way.
Yeah,
but
it's all good. Okay, it's your turn. I really went into depth
Holy
about.
smokes!
See,
Is anybody
this is why
listening
these
anymore?
cards are great.
So how do
Makes us talk?
Yeah. How do you show me that you love me without telling me? It's weird. I will say with this game, people, is that I feel like Stephanie always has like answers just like lock loaded and ready to fire. And I'm like, I gotta think about this.
No, you're a more deep processor than I am.
I guess so. How do you show me that you love me without telling me? You know what I love is like when you like sometimes you like rub my head. Like randomly, you like slow rub my head. And I'm like, this is my wife. I think most of the times, and maybe, I don't know if this is one of my love languages even is like when you talk positively about me, like words of affirmation, I guess. Like if we're, and like this would never be something that's demanded. It feels weird for me to even talk about this, but I guess like if we're in public and Stephanie says something like nice about me, like it makes me feel like loved or good or yeah, it makes me warm and fuzzy inside. I don't know, like whatever that, if that's what you want to call love.
Yeah.
But when
makes you feel appreciated. Which
yeah. And so like I would never like ask you to do that, but I just like thinking on it now and like just thinking on this conversation, like when you're saying nice things about me, it's like, oh, I feel loved.
I think something, maybe even to like we need to start wrapping up, but I think something that always sticks with me is a couple things. My mom told me when I was a kid, love is not a feeling, love is a choice. Mm-hmm. And you have to choose to love that person every single day, regardless if it's good or bad. And obviously those warm, fuzzy feelings makes it easier to choose that person because you feel good about that person. The other thing that someone told me, or I heard, I must have heard it on a podcast that I listened to. They said, yeah, and love is work. And it's a lot of work. And it's hard work. And so don't just think that like love is going to be easy and fun and a good time. Love is probably the most work that you're ever going to do in your whole life. I have to wake up and I have to work on my relationship. I have to work on making sure that he feels good, that I feel good. When it's bad, there's extra work. It's always work. And to have a long-term relationship, you have to work the most. Because if you don't put the work in or the time in, or even like we've been talking about, the time to problem solve with your spouse, you will not have a long-lasting relationship. And like so far, John and I have put in the work, but it's also been great because we picked our best friend. We picked someone that we love, that we enjoy. So he's worth the work. And I think like it makes it easy because I can go, well, it's not easy. Sometimes in my mind, okay, also, let me just backtrack. I told someone this summer. I said, the thing that will really get you in marriage is if you allow yourself to say bad things in your head about your spouse. If you tell yourself, oh, I hate him. Oh, he's such an idiot. Oh my goodness, he's so dumb. Oh, he always does it. It's so annoying. If you allow yourself, if that is the voice in your head, that is the way you speak about your spouse to yourself, and this is only to yourself. To yourself. You do not have to say these things out loud. Your marriage will deteriorate very quickly because you do not think positively about your husband. So when I have those thoughts, I do have those thoughts. You have those thoughts about me.
Never.
Liar. Right? We all irritate each other. We're just human. When I have those thoughts, I always tell, do not say that about your husband. You love him. He's actually a lot of fun. He's actually really smart. He actually does a lot of things for you. He's a good father. Just deny those things and tell yourself what's actually true, and you will appreciate your spouse so much more, and your relationship will be a lot easier.
Because it's not that it's not true. Like the things that annoy you or make you upset are not true. They probably are true, but there's probably a lot of things that they are positive that you should be grateful for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you're annoying, and you're not always smart, and you're not perfect, right? Yeah. Personally. So like you cannot hold the little things against them. If you don't expect them to hold the little things against you, you can't hold the little things against them. So I think there you go. We've had a podcast of therapy and relationship advice. And
Yeah, just closing out. Like we want to talk, we want to play this game with you guys and ask a deep question to each other, but we also want to talk to you guys about what we learned from the scripture this week. And if I'm honest, I mean, I won't put Steph on the spot, but for me, I didn't spend a lot of time reading my Bible this week. I was encouraged by friends who were sending me messages and Bible verses, just to keep me psyched through the whole thing and to remind me of the fact that, like, yeah, you know what, God is good, and even when we don't know, he knows. And so this message actually came from a friend named Tina. And so she sent me this verse, and it is from Philippians 4, verse 6-7. And it says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." And so, yeah, I think that was so true. Just to sum it all up, there was some super stressful moments this week as our friends, almost lost their baby boy, 8-year-old. Yeah, I mean,
we call it baby boy because he's always going to be their baby.
Yeah. A couple times, and just how, we might not have felt peace, like we might not have processed it peacefully with each other, with like the four of us, the two couples, but there was like an overwhelming sense of peace. Like, around every corner there seemed to be, God was reaching out his hand and helping us out. And so thank you, Tina, for sharing that, because this was a week where I was not waking up early, was not following my morning routine. I think we'll get more into that in the next podcast, like what our determined, what we were determined to do with this next season of life, and how it was all postponed with the craziness this week. And I don't know if you want to call it New Year's resolutions that were postponed, or just basically what we had planned for our lives. But we'll get into that on the next episode, and how what we are trying to do we haven't done, but I think we're going to relax for a couple days here and start with our basically working on ourselves for the next 12 months.
Yeah. And I had a couple interesting things. I didn't read my Bible once in the last, I don't know how many days since this all started.
Terrible person.
I am, but no, I'm
kidding.
not. I just, I didn't have the capacity to read or intake anything. But, the Lumas, that's the family's last name that we were helping out. Their daughter's really intellectual and a beautiful girl and loves Jesus and had lots of hard questions. Something we were talking about like, why is this happening? And, and I was saying to her, like, well, like, bad things happen in life. Like, God is good, but bad things happen in life because we are sinful and we have free will. And in the beginning, Adam and Eve chose sin. And so sin came into the world. And so we all die. And the moment we're born, we're heading towards death. And that's awful. And God doesn't want that for us. And he gave us a free way to have eternal life with him by dying on the cross and forgiving our sins. And we all sin, and we all sin every day. And once we admit that, then we can have that free gift. And it's hard seeing something so awful happen to such a small boy, and you go, how is God good? I'm sorry? How does he want this for this child? And it's not God wanting that. It's because we have sin in the world. And sin means death. And so eventually it's going to come for us all, and bad things happen because we live in a sinful world. And that's hard for me even to wrap my head around, because I do not like seeing all these things, and it's hard and it's painful. And we, though, can have hope, and hope is what's keeping us going. And I remember Av, the little girl, saying to me, I'm scared to have hope. I'm scared to be excited to see Kai getting better. And I said, well, that's what we have, though. God has given us hope. We can hope in God, and regardless of what happens, we can have hope, and we can hang on to that.
Mm-hmm. Because she'll need that hope. Like, if Kai gets better,
yeah,
and, she grows up and, whatever. Like, there'll be tough times ahead of her. There's tough times ahead of us.
Yeah.
And, like, there's going to be a hope. And there's everybody out who's listening to this needs this hope.
Yeah, and Jesus is that hope.
Yeah. There's a hole in your heart that nobody or nothing can ever fill. And that was put there by design. Because there's nothing that can fill that extravagant chasm.
Yeah.
That only Jesus can fill.
He's the only real hope.
He's the one who created you.
And then during this process, Alita, the mom of Kai, was saying to me, she's like, I'm just in so much turmoil and so much pain. I have not been able to pray. I just can't handle it. Ooh, and it's crazy because she's taught her children so well about Jesus' love, and Avonlea was praying for Kai. Oh, during the moments in the hospital, and the rest of everybody that was joining along with us, and lots of Fiji and lots of people overseas were praying, and we were just talking about, wow, like, people are interceding on our behalf and praying for Kai. Interceding is just like praying to God and having the Holy Spirit.
Like, when you pray on behalf of somebody else,
you're doing it on their part.
Yeah, Kai was sick, and there was tens of thousands of you. So if you're one person who is praying to God that, would you please look after Kai, that is interceding. Yeah. You're praying on behalf of Kai. You are talking to God on behalf of him.
Yeah. And it was so cool, I think, just having so many people lifting up prayers for him, and we really believe that's kind of what kept him safe and got him out. And obviously we did as much physically as we can along with your prayers, but I really believe that, like, without that amount of prayer, we wouldn't have gotten anywhere. And I think, like, the support that the family felt, and even just being at a loss for words, like, in pain, I have no words, God hears me still. Just learning about that, and like, that was so cool and overwhelming. And I think that's just something we were talking about just a little bit, just people interceding on behalf of the family and Kai, and even if we just have groans in our pain, that God can still hear us. Yeah. And I think that was cool. And I just felt like, wow, like, so awesome having so many people join in with us and praying for this family, and being able to pray over Kai and myself, and just being there. It's like, all right, God, you hear our cry, and there's lots of us. Like,
yeah, it's so true.
Like, work, please. And I don't know, it's hard to have the right words, but I think it's like, we saw the power of God moving in this, and that we could tell there's lots of people praying, miracles were happening.
Oh, crazy.
It was a lot. So yeah, that's just something, like, you don't have to read scripture to feel God and see him moving and having powerful moments. And obviously, like, reading your Bible gives you wisdom and the knowledge of God and things like that. But I think this week was, sometimes you don't have the capacity to open a book and just spend some quiet time. So
yeah, and for those of you who are listening to this, like I said, like, this week was not a good week when it came to me spending time, reading the Bible and just silent meditation and prayer and talking to God. But there was people that love me, who love Jesus, who surround me, who would send me messages like Tina did. Yeah. And in a way, like, when you pray on behalf of somebody else, like people who pray for Kai, like, they're interceding for Kai. But, like, when you send somebody, like, a message that is personalized, not just like one of these Facebook, like, like this comment and God will give you $50,000 by April 2023. Like, I'm not talking about that, but, like, actually, like, reading something and being like, oh, I feel like Steph could really use this verse in her life right now. And so when Tina did that for me, it was like, she was being the hands and feet of God, and just encouraging me in that moment, because, like, I don't know, I wasn't doing the right thing and not spending time with him, but that was my human response and what I was going through. And in the body of Christ, like she played another body part, and the body part that I usually am able to read and do those things, she sent me the verse and encouraged me in that way. So I think it's so important that, we pick up the pieces and help each other out when we're going through different things like that. And I think that's what's hard about looking at other moms in PICU and seeing how they don't have that support system. And so,
Yeah.
so in the distance, I mean, not to go into too much detail, but, we'll be working on seeing if we can, get in touch with people and seeing if we can invoke or understand why things are a certain way in the medical system in Fiji, and just to reinstate, like, man, we're so pumped and so grateful to everybody who really, we felt like all the medical professionals did their absolute best. And so, we have some follow-up to do, but we're just so thankful to everybody over the last week, and huge props to everybody who commented, who prayed, who sent messages, who sent advice on whatever medicines or previous treatments, to the doctors, to the boat operators, to the island resort, owners, to the helicopter owners,
to the politicians that
to the
were
politicians,
there for us.
and we're talking like the top of the top politicians who were there for us. We can't extend enough gratitude to you guys. So we'll call this the Near Death Debrief podcast, because we've tried to get away from it, but it seems to keep coming back to it.
It's just a circle
Yeah.
that we're not.
That's just our life last week.
Well, and we're taking a time out after tonight. This is our last thing for a few days. We're taking 2 days of complete social media silence. We love you guys. We want to be able to fill you in our lives. We also have agreed that we're going to take this year to
personal development,
get healthier. And I think that's also a mental healthier, and again, then physical health. But I think we need a couple 2 days just to be
and you guys
spending
will
time with our kids and loving them properly, making sure our family's okay, and that we can go back home and jump into work in the full swing of our lives.
Yeah, and days off is not like to friggin' just like waste time and do whatever. It's to like re-energize, spend the amount of time we need to with our family, so that we can come back full of energy and crush it for you guys, because you guys deserve it.
Yeah.
So that's why we're doing this. It's not we don't want to do mediocre content. We don't want to do life mediocre. We want to be the best for our family, for our employees, for those of you who follow, for those of you who like and comment and send us messages.
And
we want to do our best.
We're excited. We've got meetings lined up on the other island. Or no, we've got contacts on the other island. I think we talked about we're looking for a social media manager. We have some people lined up possibly that can fill that role for us. So we're hoping to meet them, see if that pans out. We've got lots of things in the works. So yeah, all this is coming. And we've got a lot of stuff to do at the coffee shop that we own as well. So we're really excited to head back there. And when we're out in the farm, we're in the village, we're at the coffee shop. We'll share our lives with you. Thanks for joining us. This was the Walk of Family podcast.
Episode 5.
Okay, we'll see you next week.
We're out.
Bye.